Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So this is lecture for week 13, if not mistaken, in which this is the second last week before you're going for your revision week in week 15. So since we have completed all 6 main topics, so today we are going to review 3 topics that are related to what you have done in your assignment number 2, which is writing a report, and the specific type of report that you are writing for your assignment number 2 was progress report on a project. So since of 6 topics that we have been covering all this while consists of 2 main things in writing, which is writing an essay and a report. So if you or everyone look carefully into all the topics that we have done previously, topic 1, 2, and 3 were heavily on writing an essay. And if you look carefully to the last 3 topics, which is topic 4, 5, and 6, they are looking into reports, in which we are looking at the types of reports and also the characteristics of report, and also the purpose of a report. Okay, so what we are going to do today is that we're going to look at the whole thing of 4, 5, 6 in one mind map. So since it's been quite long that I have not been doing a mind map to assist a student to have a better clear view of how a report should be, so today I'm very lucky that I have a chance that I can share with you a whole set of 4, 5, 6 in one mind map. So I'll try my best earlier on to make sure that it is clear in the what we call that, in the slideshow that I'm showing you today. Alright, so what you are seeing now is a combination of 3 topics that is covering one type of writing, which is report. Right, so 4, 5, 6, they have their own different content, but they are into one direction, in which writing a report. Alright, so if you look at topic 4, which is the first topic that you are introduced to a report. In topic 4, basically it gives you an idea how a report is, right? So topic 4 started with the definition of what is a report, in which it is a general definition of a report. It's not a specific definition of what is a progress report, what is a scientific report, what is a incident report. This one is a general definition of a report, right? Because under report there were a lot of types of it, right? There can be a progress report, there can be investigative report, there can be engineering reports, right? And then they can be written in the form of memo, in the term of a letter, in the form of a booklet. So it's kind of broad things that we are looking into, but we are sharing it with you part by part, so that everyone knows the clear view of a report and also what is under a report. Right, so topic 4 start off with the definition of a general definition of a report, and then after the definition we are looking into the differences between report and essay, because a report it's very objective, and meanwhile for essay it is very subjective, but both have a topic, but the topic also different from each other. So I think you have seen this slide, these notes also on the differences between a report and an essay. And then after looking into the differences between a report and essay, we were also introduced to 12 types of reports. If you still remember, some of the reports are engineering reports, progress report, research report. There were 12 of it, right? And since report basically divided into 2 types of report, which is short and long reports, So we also introduce you with short reports. So short reports, they are normally in a form of memo, letter, and booklet. So seeing that there are three types of short reports: memo, letter, and booklet. These three also have their own functions. So talking about memo, it's always about internal information sharing in which you and your colleagues. And for letter, it is one way for us to share the information about the firm to the public in the form of a letter. Meanwhile, a booklet is um, it is printed in an organized content, which the information also about the firm, or also about what is progressing, also the overview of a firm or the project. So these three are considered as short reports, but the three of these, they have their own functions. Okay, memo is for internal, letter is for public, booklet for both public and internal, because sometimes we also would like to know how is the firm is going on. So sometimes some firm, they came out of booklet. Like I usually take an example like banks. Okay, both the staff in the bank can read the booklet, and also the public also. Okay. Meanwhile, for letter is specifically sent to that particular recipient. Means to say it could be different from other recipient, or it could be the same as other recipients. But letter can consider it's very private, because it is specifically sent to a reader or to a recipient. Compared to booklet, everyone can read and everyone can get it. Meanwhile, memo is only for you and your colleagues. So short reports, they can be an incident report. Let's say there's something happens in your firm, an accident. So a person in charge have to write a report to the management or report to the authority body, which in charge of handling the crisis or the incident in the workplace. If you are working one day, let's say you are assigned to a project, and then it is required or requested by the top management or your CEO, your general manager, or your directing manager to update on how is the project had been doing. So you will write a progress report. It is considered a short report because sometimes you only write what you are doing, what you are still doing, and what will be done. So that's why it is considered a short report. Meanwhile, the third type of short report is an investigative report. So this investigative report, normally it is for internal purposes, something like when there's a case of breaching of trust. How to say that? In a short form, it is called a CBT, a charge of breach of trust, something like that. So when there's a case of breach of trust, let's say one of your colleague took the steal the cash from your firm front counter. So when someone found out and reported to your management, so if you are the person in charge or you are the superior to that particular colleague, you will be asked to do an investigation, internal investigation, and then from the investigation you have to report. You write down in a form of short reports and present it to the top management of your firm. So investigative report, progress report, and incident report are types of short reports. Alright, since there is a short report, there is also a long report. So long reports, they are normally in the form of scientific reports, which is what you have to report after an experiment or observation. And then there's a recommendation report. Recommendation report, normally when it comes to problem solving, you have to identify and then you have to recommend what we need to do in the following year, what we need to do in the following month to avoid to avoid the incident that had been happening in the firm or in your firm. And then research report is for you to report on what you have been researching. It's almost like scientific, but scientific more to lab purpose. Meanwhile, research, everyone have to write a research report. Taking an example, lecturers in UCTS, when we do a research, after we write down the full version of it, we will write a shorter version, which is still long, but about what the research we had been doing and what is the result, and then what is the outcome, and what is the suggestions if the research is about identifying a problem. But if the research is testing a theory, also in the report we will report on what is the finding after we tested the theory. And in engineering also they have their own report. You will have to report to your superior on what you've been doing, how the problem is being solved, how is the construction or the installation had been done. And then also in business there's also long reports. This is very normal. Like I said, if you go to the bank you can find a very thick booklet on a report on what how much the business had been doing very well for the banks. So when it comes to report, everyone need to remember basically there were two types of report. There were short reports, which is in the form of memo, letter, and booklet, where it can be used to report on an incident, a progress, or an investigative outcome after you investigate an action and a case. Meanwhile, long reports, they are in the form of scientific reports, which is what you have studied in the lab. Recommendation, when there's a recommendation needed over a problem occurred and what should be avoided in the following days, month, or week. And then a research report where you report your research finding. And then an engineering report on what been constructed, what been installed, what is being used to ensure that the project and everything is going well. And also the business long report, talking about how well is the business had been doing for the past few months or for the past few years. So after we've seen two types of general report, which is the short and the long, we are also looking at the functions of report in topic 4. So reports generally they have their own function for us to update on what been doing, on what had been solved, and what been found, and also what being done and will be done also. And then ending topic 4 is looking at the components of a report, because generally writing a report you need to know what are the things that you need to prepare, such as the headings, such as the letter of transmittal or cover letter. This one is an optional. If it is to the public in the form of letter, it has to come together with letter of transmittal. If it is a publishing in the form of booklet, it would be with a cover letter, similar to what you are doing in assignment number 2, where you have to come out with a cover letter, where we call it as a title page. Okay. And then cover letter, you don't do that in assignment 2. Cover letter usually in the form of letter, they put in one page after the cover page. Okay, after the cover page there will be a cover letter. This one is normally for those who receive short reports in the form of letter from us. After that is the title page, which is what you're doing in assignment number 2, title page. Normally we call that as the page of the report. And then after title page would be the table of contents, where we are presenting to the reader what are the contents and which page it is. And then there's an executive summary. Executive summary is where you briefly explain about what's the firm, what's the project, and what's the relationship between the project and the firm. And then we will go on into introduction, where you introduce a bit specific than what you've been writing in executive summary on what you are doing. Okay, and then after that will be the development and discussion, where you write down the remaining works, the works that will be completed or will be done, or the completed works or job tasks completed. And then moving on would be the conclusion and suggestions. As for your assignment number 2, some of the groups I did suggest them to split, because I see that the conclusion and suggestion paragraph could be very long and could be very winding. So I did suggest few groups to separate them. This one I'll take note on this, so that there could be, it would be avoiding few issues. Okay? And then if you did include tables, you did include figures, that is where you put it in appendix, because different firm or different publisher, they rather not to include that in the middle of the paragraphs. So normally they will push everything to the last page of the report, which is the appendix. But also most groups doing assignment number 2, I advise them to put the photo together in the report, so that the report would signify to what is in the photo, or the photo signify into what is the report. Alright, so basically that is topic number 4. Alright, so number 4 is more to the introduction to you, a general knowledge on a report. Right, we don't focus specifically into one type of report, newspaper report or police report, something like that, but we rather to focus with a general type of report, in which normally used in the working environment. Because in the working environment, a report would always have the same component, which is the headings, the letter of transmittal or cover letter, the title page, the table of contents, the executive summary, the introduction, the development and discussion, the conclusion and suggestions, and also appendix. Alright, so we are moving on to topic 5. Topic 5, it's talking about how you should control the language, and also how you should create the credibility of your report. Because if you look at the mind map, there were only 4 main items in topic 5, which is styles of writing, where you are looking into active and passive voice. And then the second component is the use of language, where you have to make sure that your language is not sophisticated, not not that very technical, so that the non-technical readers will understand. And also the third one is the characteristics of a good report, so that you would know how to form a very effective and a very good report. And then since some reports or some content of the reports did source information from outside, so you guys also being introduced to the referencing system, which is we are using and complying to the APA style and format. And I believe we have seen the version 6 and version 7. I think it's version 6 of APA style and formatting for referencing. If books, it's different from web page. Web page also have their own types of source of information. They can be official web page, they can be a blog, they can be a newspaper, e-news, they can be what we call that, e-books, so all of these, they have their own differences. So I think the content on references in topic 5 should be enough, and should be optimum for you to use one day or some way when you're going to write a report. But talking about references also, since there were a number of groups that asked me should they prepare references or not. The only key things about referencing is that, like I did mention earlier, unless you source for information outside of your report for you to support your report. Okay, let's say in your progress report you are saying that your team had deployed Google survey, um, Google survey to get responses from your future from your potential clients or your potential customers. So after you mention that you are deploying Google survey to get feedback from your potential customers, you should support that statement by sourcing for information outside there, which is there is other authors, which other authors are praising and also using Google survey for the same purpose. That is where you're going to cite in your report. For example, for example, our team have deployed Google survey to our potential customers to get their feedback on our events. Full stop. According to Michael 2007, Google survey is an easy to use, cheap, and also very easy to handle and manipulate for us to collect information through a survey. Then that is where you're going to do citation, and in your referencing page you will have to write down the name of the author who did mention about the Google survey. Okay, only in that situation. If you don't have to do citation and references for you to support your statement and also to support your ideas in the report, you don't have to. Okay, that's why to some who did ask me about the referencing and also citation, I mentioned to them, unless you source for outside information to support your statement in the report. Right, so these are the main items in topic 5, which is only 4 of them. Styles of writing. Okay, you know how does active and passive voice working, and also the use of language, the also looking into the tenses. Okay, present simple tense, present continuous tense, present perfect tense, and also past tense, past perfect tense, and also other types of tenses. I believe we have gone through this subtopic also in topic number 5. And then the next one is the characteristics of a good report, how a good report should be. Okay, and also like we have gone through earlier is the references which we comply to APA style and formatting system. And looking at topic 6, topic 6 is more or less going deeper into what a report should be. But then the specific of topic 6 is more to memo and other type of short report. Looking at short report in topic 4, short reports can be a memo, letter, booklet, and they can be about an incident, about a progress, and about an investigation. So since memo is the shortest of all short reports, so we focus on memo in topic 6. So since it is shortest of all the short reports, in topic 6 we did look at format of a short report again. Okay, and then also we are looking into the parts of a short report in which in a short report there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types, 5 parts in a short report, which is the introduction and summary. And then the second one is the procedure or the body, which is in the body, and also the findings also in the body paragraph. And then the conclusions and the recommendations. Talking about parts of a short report, for introduction or summary, there are 3 things that you need to make sure that they are included in that particular paragraph, which is the background paragraph, background, and also the problem, and also the proposed solution. Means to say, in the introduction paragraph or the summary, what you have to do is that you have to write the 3 things. If it's about a problem, then you write down the background of the problem, how the problem started, and then what is the peak of the problem, and then currently how is the problem going on. Okay, and then the third things that you need to mention in the introduction or the summary also, what is the problem actually. So you pointed out the problem here is that blah 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 blah, and also you have to include the proposed solution, in which you write a few sentences from what you have observed. These are the proposed solution that we should take to make sure that this problem will not be dragging or going on or continuously going on in the organization. So in the body you will explain further. Okay, as the problem is this, the department have identified that we need to solve this problem by practicing this, and then the second idea, then the third idea. Okay, since it's split into 2, it doesn't mean that it has to be one thing. Okay, it depends on the case. If the case is about investigating a problem, then the next paragraph should be about the procedure. What are the procedures of identifying the problem? Okay, what are the procedures to observe the problem? And then in the next paragraph should be what are the findings from the procedures had been applied, or according to the investigation, by collecting statements from each individuals who are involved in this problem, we have found out that this particular person is the cause of the trouble. Then that should be in the findings paragraph. Then in the conclusion you conclude the whole thing, and then you put recommendations. So you recommend what should be done to solve the problem. All right, so it looks like that's all for topic 6. And basically again, these 3 topics talks about one thing, which is report. So if there's a question who asks you name 6 types of report, so you will be looking at 12 types of report. Okay, so your answer should be half of this. Right? Impossible we will ask you to write down all 12, or we will ask you to choose all 12. In the case of multi-choice questions, maybe we will ask you to identify one type of report. Identify one type of report, A, B, C, D. So you have to remember back what are those 12 types of report. It could be 1, it could be more. So if the choice of answers would be A, B, C, and D, that means you have to identify one of those 4 is one of the types of report listed in this 12 types of report. All right, and then there could be a question also for you to identify which type of referencing a correct referencing style for a certain type of source. You have A, B, C, and D. So you have to make sure that you remember the most common one, which is books, website, what else? Usually it's books and website that are the most common platforms where writers usually source for information, right? And then there could be a question also asking you a good report should be A, B, C, D, or a good report should be 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have A 1, 2, 3, B 2, 3, 4, C 1, 3, 4, D 1, 2, 4. So you have to make sure that you can identify and recall back on these characteristics of a good report. And then there could be a very normal question, something like ask you to define what is a report, define what is a memo, maybe asking you to define short reports. Okay, they could be, okay, I cannot guarantee you whether it would be coming out or not. And also there could be a question that would ask you what's the purpose of a memo, and then maybe asking you choose one of those of a characteristic of a memo. So you must make sure you choose the right one, and then remember back characteristics of a memo is what. Okay, and I don't think they could be very tricky questions also, but it requires you to remember, and it requires you to show how much you have understand some parts of these three main chapters, which is on report, right? And also there could be questions from other topics, which is topic 1, 2, 3, but I don't think it could be as much as this 4, 5, 6. But I believe the question could be biased to 4, 5, 6. But then I still advise everyone to look through all topics so that you can counter all the questions related to any topics. All right. So I think nothing much, and I believe this mind map will helps you very well, in which I will upload this into Edmodo slide notes folder, and I think this one also could help you with your revision, because you would know the directions, you would know the sequence, and you would know the divisions of it, which one goes in topic 4, which one in topic 5, and which one in topic 6. Taking an example, suddenly you bump into a question about tenses, immediately you can remember the content of topic 5. Suddenly there's a question asking you about memo or parts of short report, immediately you can remember that is a topic 6. If there's a question asking you a definition of a report, then you can remember the content in topic 4, right? But the questions, I believe they will test how much you can remember, how much you understand that particular topic, and also how much you can show your ability to use a particular knowledge that is included in each of these 3 topics. But basically these 3 are talking about one thing, which is report. So when there's a question asking you what type of report, generally what types of report we have, so you have to remember generally you have 2 types of reports, which is short and long reports. More information of short reports would be in topic 6, and in topic 6 for short reports specifically it looks into memo. Some might ask why we have to look into memo. All right, the reason why we have to look into memo is that one day when you are working, you would have to take note, you will have to be alert, and you have to be concerned about any memo that is being distributed to you and your other colleagues by and from certain department of your office if you're working one day, because this is the only valid, only legal information that is normally distributed by your employers, for you to know, for you to take action, and for you to be aware of. Okay, that's why in topic 6 we heavily focus on memo. And who knows, maybe one day some of you will be working as a human resource officer, or maybe as a finance officer, or maybe as a project manager, or maybe as a researcher. Maybe you have to write a memo to your colleagues in your department or in your organization, because this is one of the skills that need to be mastered also if you're working one day in which to write a memo. If you're able to write a memo, means to say you're also able to write long reports. That's the logic here. But because we want to focus on memo, that's why in topic 6 we don't bring in further information about long reports. Because if you look at the long reports, it depends on where you are working one day. And normally firms and organizations, they have examples, they have template for you to refer to. Okay? Let's say if you are working as the assistant science officer, so one day you will be tasked to write a scientific report. Okay? Let's say if you are working in Sarawak, there is one department where you are working with scientists, and when scientists have something to study, they will assign few people to join his or her research or his or her experiments. So the one who will write the report will be you. It's not it's not the scientist who is your superior. And then recommendation, who knows, maybe one day you will be under human resource department, where you are required to write a recommendation report on the problem of your staff keep on coming late. And then who knows, one day you become a researcher. Researcher and scientists, they could be a bit different. Researcher, they only try to figure out what's the problem or test the theory to certain situation of a problem. Right? Or maybe you are writing a research for your thesis, for your PhD thesis. So you're not just writing a research paper, you also have to write a research report also, to report on the current standing or the current situation of your report. And normally it could be long because it involves methodology, the methodology of your research, and also the funding of the research, and also the problems of the research is facing. And who knows, some of you will be working as an engineer also. You have to write a report in which it would be long, because engineering will have to include a lot of theories and also a lot of calculations. And same goes to business also. Who knows, maybe you're working in banks, and then your superior asks you to write a long report on the profit collected by the particular bank for the first 3 months of the year. And then maybe you have to write a recommendation report also at the same time. Okay, so basically these three talks about one thing, which is reports. Right, so I think that's all for today's lecture. If you have any concern about these 3 topics, you can drop down the question in our WhatsApp group, and then I will try my best to give you the feedback and hope to clear some of your thoughts, your double thoughts on certain things in these 3 topics or one of these 3 topics. But if you are trying to compare our assignment number 2 to these 3, our assignment number 2 is a bit lenient because if we are playing with the real life situation, it could take you more than 2 weeks for you to form a draft, because you have to prepare a lot of things, in which if you look at topic number 4 for components of report, in which your appendix will be thicker than what you are doing, because some groups they come out with appendix, and your executive summary could be half page, where you have to start from the history of the company, where you have to look at the vision and mission of the company, and then the success of the company, the awards have been received. Normally that is what is written in a progress report that consists of these components, right? So if there's a query, you do let us know, and especially you drop down in our WhatsApp group. Please do not WhatsApp me personally, because there could be a lot of you asking me question in one time, and it's quite difficult for me to answer everyone one by one. Okay, and then normally at 3 a.m. At 3 p.m. I will drop down the link to the Google form for your attendance, and also I think I will deploy the tutorial task questions earlier, which is at 3:30, so that everyone will have a chance and time not to rush to attempt all the questions in the tutorial task questions. And then as normal, as usual, you drop down your answers in our WhatsApp group, and then I will share you with the answers. If you have concern about the tutorial task question, also you can ask me in the WhatsApp group also, so that everyone would know what is the need of certain question that you are dealing with for your tutorial questions. Right, so I think that's all for today. Any questions? We still have our WhatsApp group. You can drop down the questions, and I will try my best to what we call that, give feedback upon your questions. So I think that's all for today. Thank you very much, and wish all good luck. Thank you.